It is this uncertainty that has fans, and perhaps the members themselves, grappling with the reality that no bond, no matter how storied, is immune to the centrifugal force of stardom. And as millions replay the videos and dissect every detail, one question keeps resurfacing like an echo. Has Taehyung finally surpassed Jin? Or is this only the beginning of a rivalry that no one dared to imagine? This, dear viewers, is not merely a story about celebrity or success. It is a live experiment in the power of presence, the myth of equality, and the insatiable hunger of an audience determined to choose their own heroes, no matter what promises were made behind closed doors. The crowd that night was more than a collection of excited fans. It was the living proof that Taehyung's effect, whether planned or accidental, has become a phenomenon capable of redefining an entire era. Stay tuned. Because if this moment has taught us anything, it is that in the world of BTS, no triumph is ever guaranteed to belong to just one man. And no story is ever truly finished. In the hours after the event, social media turned into a battlefield of conflicting emotions. One viral post read simply, "I came for Jin, but left in awe of Taehyung. Is this betrayal?" Thousands of replies echoed the same uncomfortable truth. Fandom loyalty is rarely as simple as it seems. Could it be that Jin supporters are grappling with an impossible contradiction? How do you celebrate the triumph of one idol while acknowledging the gravitational pull of another that no one can deny? Some longtime fans defended Jin with fervor, insisting that no surge of hysteria can erase his contribution to BTS's global ascent. But even their most passionate arguments seemed tinged with an unspoken anxiety. If this was the response to a brief, unscheduled appearance, what would happen if Taehyung decided to headline his own tour? Would the crowds reach a size no venue could safely contain? Would every event be transformed into a spectacle so overwhelming that even seasoned promoters would be forced to revise their expectations of what a single artist can achieve? Industry insiders are already whispering that booking Taehyung has become an entirely separate logistical undertaking. One promoter, speaking anonymously, said that after this event, they received urgent inquiries from venues about upgrading security protocols. "We've never seen anything like it," he admitted. It's not just about attendance. It's about intensity. Taehyung has a way of creating a singular, collective fever that no amount of preparation seems to fully anticipate. And so the question continues to grow louder. Is Taehyung's popularity a gift to the group or an emerging threat to its balance? In public, the official statements remain as diplomatic as ever, full of brotherhood and mutual admiration. Yet behind closed doors, is it possible that even the strongest bonds have begun to fray under the relentless weight of comparison? Observers have been quick to point out that Jin himself set the stage for this moment by inviting Taehyung to attend. Did he foresee the possibility that the audience's focus might drift? Or did he trust that their shared history would be enough to keep the energy respectful, evenly distributed? When the night unfolded in a way that no one could have predicted, how did he reconcile his personal pride with the undeniable reality that Taehyung's mere presence can shift the atmosphere of an entire stadium? One cannot ignore the subtle symbolism in every viral clip from that evening. There is the moment Taehyung leans over the balcony, waving casually, oblivious to the chaos his greeting unleashed. There is the moment Jin steps into the spotlight, microphone in hand, the roar of the crowd momentarily less deafening than it had been a minute before. And there is the lingering, almost cinematic shot of Taehyung sitting back, a faint smile on his lips, as if he too was measuring the magnitude of what he had unintentionally or intentionally set in motion. And what about the fans themselves? In the days since the concert, ARMY forums have erupted with confessions that some feel almost guilty for the way their hearts raced when Taehyung appeared. Others have posted screenshots of conversations with friends and fellow supporters, grappling with a sense of divided loyalty that they never expected to feel. If BTS has always prided itself on unity, how does the fandom reconcile this seismic split in attention? These aren't idle speculations. They are the raw, unresolved questions that have attached themselves to every replayed video, every shared photo, every trending hashtag. Did this event expose the first real crack in the myth of perfect equality among BTS members? And if so, is it a crack that can be mended? or the start of a fissure destined to widen as each member inevitably carves his own path in the world. Some have argued that this was never truly about rivalry. They point to Taehyung's body language, his humble demeanor, his refusal to issue any comment that might appear boastful or self-congratulatory. They argue that if any division exists, it is entirely the product of media sensationalism and fans' own insecurities. But can that explanation fully account for the visceral reactions witnessed that night? The tears, the chants, the sheer, thunderous noise that so clearly favored one man above all. Even seasoned cultural analysts are struggling to articulate precisely what Taehyung represents in the modern K-pop landscape. He is not merely an idol, they say, but a symbol of something more elusive, an idea of individuality and enigma that defies the tidy narratives of group unity. He is, in their words, the embodiment of a new kind of celebrity, one whose power lies not only in talent or visual appeal, but in a cultivated mystery that makes fans feel as if they are glimpsing something forbidden. Perhaps that is why so many found themselves unable to look away when he arrived. In a world that has seen countless stars rise and fade, Taehyung appears to exist on a different plane altogether, one where attention is neither requested nor resisted, but simply flows to him as inexorably as gravity itself. Yet if this is true, what does it mean for the rest of BTS? Is this moment a foreshadowing of a future in which each member must navigate the uncomfortable truth that not all legends are created equal in the eyes of the public? Will there come a day when Taehyung's effect becomes so overwhelming that the group itself must recalibrate to accommodate it? Fans may not want to ask these questions, but the footage from that night leaves little room for denial. Every scream, every banner, every tear-streaked face pointed toward the balcony bore witness to the same realization. Something has changed. The equilibrium that once defined BTS may never be quite the same again. Has Taehyung finally reached a level of influence that even Jin never dared to imagine? This is the question exploding across every fan community, social media feed, and entertainment headline today after a spectacle so immense that even seasoned event managers reportedly admitted they were unprepared for the magnitude of the response. What exactly happened on that night that no one could have predicted? Why did thousands of fans pour into the venue, their voices raised not merely in support but in a near-religious fervor that some observers described as historic? The scene unfolded with astonishing intensity, a moment that seemed to crystallize the very power dynamic between these two BTS legends. Was it a celebration or a subtle declaration of supremacy? As dusk descended on the crowded district, witnesses say the streets were already packed with fans holding banners, wearing custom outfits, and chanting Taehyung's name long before Jin was scheduled to appear on stage. Why did the anticipation of Taehyung's rumored presence eclipse the actual concert? Was it simply the aura of mystery that clings to Taehyung wherever he goes? Or something more deliberate, a statement that he has outgrown any limitations, including the shadow of his own bandmates, security teams, some of whom have worked on massive K-pop tours for over a decade, confess that the moment Taehyung stepped out of the car, a surge of people crushed against the barricades so forcefully that emergency protocols were briefly initiated. How could one man cause such an unstoppable wave of emotion and devotion? And what were the thoughts racing through Jin's mind backstage, watching as the crowd's energy shifted away from the event he had spent months preparing? These are not idle speculations, but questions igniting debates among ARMY and entertainment analysts alike. Some insiders claim that Jin, ever the professional, maintained his composure throughout the evening, even as the noise from Taehyung's greeting threatened to drown out his own opening remarks. Others whisper that Jin retreated to a quiet corner minutes before showtime, momentarily shaken by the realization that no matter how brightly he shines, Taehyung's gravitational pull seems to be growing beyond containment. Can a friendship, this public, survive a moment this humbling? Could this be the fracture point in a bond millions believed was unbreakable? Fans have shared videos that show the precise instant Taehyung waved to the crowd. The sound, they say, was like the eruption of an entire stadium. Those who stood near the barricades described a heat wave of human energy, an adrenaline-fueled chaos that no one could control. Was this the final confirmation that Taehyung has surpassed Jin, not in talent, but in raw, unfiltered fandom power? Or does it reveal something darker about the way audiences fixate on novelty over loyalty? The questions do not end there. Why did Big Hit's official channels release only carefully cropped photos that excluded the most chaotic scenes? Was the company concerned that the images might spark a narrative that Jin had been overshadowed on his own night? Or are they protecting a unity that has already begun to splinter behind the scenes? For those in attendance, the contrast was impossible to ignore. As Jin performed his set with characteristic elegance, some eyes were trained not on the stage, but on the private box where Taehyung eventually sat, occasionally waving, occasionally standing, every motion provoking a fresh wave of hysteria. Entertainment critics have been quick to call this moment a watershed, the night when Taehyung's magnetism finally crossed an invisible line. But what exactly makes Taehyung's appeal feel so unstoppable? Is it the effortless way he seems to command attention without asking for it? Or have years of carefully curated mystery transformed him into something more potent, a living myth in the eyes of millions? Many fans have argued passionately that this is not a competition, that each member of BTS shines in his own way. But can even the most optimistic voices deny the electricity that crackled through the venue every time Taehyung appeared on the massive screens, his face framed in adoring camera flashes? The crowd was there for Jin, yet the gravitational center had shifted. Was it inevitable? Did Jin himself anticipate this when he personally invited Taehyung to attend? Or did he hope that their bond would be a reassurance, rather than a catalyst for comparison? No one could have prepared for the scale of the spectacle. Some estimated the crowd had swelled to nearly twice the expected size within an hour of the first rumors that Taehyung would appear. Journalists on site described the entire block locked in gridlock, with taxis, delivery vans, and even emergency vehicles forced to reroute. What does this say about the potency of Taehyung's image in the cultural imagination of South Korea and beyond? Can any single member contain a fan response that seems to swell bigger than the group itself? And what of Jin's reaction in the days that followed? Did he feel gratitude for the added publicity or regret that his milestone moment became, in part, a backdrop to Taehyung's unintentional coronation? Official statements have been carefully worded, stressing brotherhood, respect, and mutual celebration. But those who study body language have dissected every second of the live broadcast, noting the faintest hesitations, the smallest flickers in expression. Could it be that even Jin, with his years of experience and boundless charm, felt the sting of being overshadowed in real time? The debate has surged far beyond Korean media, with international outlets picking up the story and adding their own provocative headlines. In Paris, one magazine called it the night Taehyung seized the crown. In New York, another labeled it the unstoppable rise of K-pop's most enigmatic star. Is the world witnessing the beginning of a new era in which Taehyung becomes the primary cultural export of BTS, eclipsing even the group's most senior member? These questions have no simple answers, and perhaps that is why they continue to captivate. If you scroll through any ARMY hashtag today, you will see the same debates looping endlessly. Was it fair to Jin? Does it even matter when all members share the same ultimate success? Or has something shifted forever? A subtle but irreversible realignment of fame that will redefine everything to come. More importantly, what will happen when the group eventually reunites on one stage? Will the crowds roar equally for every voice? Or will Taehyung's singular appeal continue to draw the spotlight no matter how the others try to balance it? Will fans, even subconsciously, measure each performance against the impossible standard of the chaos he inspires by merely arriving?